Hello children, how are you? So you've of course heard of Lewis Carroll and his wonderful, delightful world of where no rules of logic apply and no one behaves properly and the imagination soars like these balloons behind me. So you must have read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass, and Sylvie and Bruno, and the hunting of the Snark. All these are the books that he wrote, and he wrote prose, he wrote poetry. So I'm going to read to you some of his rather funny poems, which are from these works, these major books from him. So, for example, you all know Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, don't you? But he says, Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder what you are at. Up above the world you fly like a tea tray in the sky. Okay, that is funny, isn't it? So you can I love to write sometimes funny stuff too, and that is why I'm enjoying this. Tweedledum and Tweedledee is an old expression in English, and it means more or less. So he writes, Tweedledum and Tweedledee agreed to have a battle, for Tweedledum and Tweedledee had spoiled his nice new rattle. Just then flew down a monstrous crow, as black as a tar barrel, which frightened both the heroes so they forgot their quarrel. And now this is the Mad Gardener's song. He wrote a long novel in two parts called Sylvie and Bruno, about two children and their nonsensical adventures. Every now and then Sylvie and Bruno meet this eccentric gardener, and each time they meet him he sings one of the stanzas of this song that I'm going to read to you. These are some of the stanzas from that song. He thought he saw an elephant that practiced on a fife. He looked again and found it was a letter from his wife. At length I realize, he said, the bitterness of life. He thought he saw a buffalo upon the chimney piece. He looked again and found it was his sister's husband's niece. Unless you leave this house, he said, I'll send for the police. He thought he saw a rattlesnake that questioned him in Greek. He looked again and found it was the middle of next week. The one thing I regret, he said, is that it cannot speak. He thought he saw a banker's clerk descending from the bus. He looked again and found it was a hippopotamus. If this should stay to dine, he said, there won't be much for us. He thought he saw a kangaroo that worked a coffee mill. He looked again and found it was a vegetable pill. Were I to swallow this, he said, I should be very ill. He thought he saw a coach and four that stood beside his bed. He looked again and found it was a bear without a head. Poor thing, he said, poor silly thing, it's waiting to be fed. He thought he saw an albatross that fluttered round the lamp. He looked again and found it was a penny postage stamp. "You'd best be getting home," he said. "The nights are very damp." Here are these 2 pages from what I just read you. These are the illustrations, and this is the book, Lewis Carroll, Poetry for Young People. Okay, so these are extracted from, like I said, his books that you must read if you haven't done so already. All right, Khuda Hafiz.